I'm sold. Just from that performance, I'm gonna check it out now.
I gotta channel my inner Tom Petty.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need a full performance of that before I decide. Yeah, keep going. Don't stop. Do the whole song.
Elvis, the Jesus, in America too. Yeah,
I do know Tom Petty.
That's one of my three. That's one of the three.
I love Free Fall.
Yeah,
and of course, Don't Back
She
Down.
grew up.
Won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can meet me at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. Yeah,
there's a delay, so none of us are on time right there. But
what's up, friendly neighborhood nerds? This is Judah Rad here. I'm also here with Robo Strange and Respawn. Today we have cartoonist Andre Frattino joining us. You might have seen his name on things like A Land Remembered, Simon Says, and a lot of other stuff. Today we're going to be asking him about Jim Henson's The Storyteller, Shapeshifters #1, which is the first issue of that series. It's going to be written by Andre, illustrated by Nori Retherford. It's hitting stores on March 2022. Hey, how's it going, Andre? Good to have you here.
It's going really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being here. So you're a cartoonist in the strictest sense, right? That is to say you write and illustrate. You've had solo projects in the past like The Yearling, Pettuville, and with Shapeshifters, you'll be writing while Nori Retherford illustrates. Do you prefer collaborating with someone that's not yourself?
I mean, I guess more than cartoonist, I like to call myself a graphic novelist because it kind of incorporates anything like writing, illustrating, whatever the case might be. But you know,
cool.
it does sound. It's like I am a graphic novelist.
Yeah,
Like I can go to all the fancy cocktail parties, stick my pinky finger out, and be like,
right, yeah.
Right now, what is the state of Batman? Batman's no, but seriously, like as a graphic novelist, I think it incorporates a lot more things. But you know, in many instances, I love collaboration because I think that it really depends on whatever project I'm working on. Requires the right flavor, the right style, the right, you know, finesse to it. And you know, I love to be able to incorporate what I can, but it's not always necessarily going to be writing. It's not always necessarily going to be art. Sometimes it's going to require somebody with a different style text or a different type. And so, yeah, I mean, for the instance of many of the projects I've worked in, I look for people who I can best collaborate with, some amazing talent. And I've been very lucky so far to work on some solo projects that I get to do everything, and other projects where I get the blessing of working with some amazing artists and illustrators.
So like, it's, I mean, they both have their pros and cons, and you're just a pro. You can do it all.
No cons, only pros.
Only
Nice.
pros. Okay.
Only
great.
pros.
So I don't think any of us here have seen The Storyteller. I did not. So for
on Amazon Prime, you could watch it on Amazon Prime today.
Okay, so well, depending on your answer, that actually might help. So for those that don't know, it was a British-American live-action puppet television series that aired in 1987 and was created and produced by Jim Henson. I didn't just read that word for word. That was all
people like Sean Bean and Natasha Richardson got their starts on that show.
Sean Bean, does Sean Bean die on it?
No, he does not die. He doesn't have an
wow.
heart. Right? But you have to watch to find out. You know, he doesn't have his head cut off like in Game of Thrones. But
I don't know if I'm comfortable watching something where Sean Bean lives the whole time. But
let me be honest with you. I got to be honest with you 100%. I feel the Jim Henson Storyteller, like the Amazon Prime series you can watch now, is darker than The Witcher. And there is some really great stuff. Like if you love The Witcher, you're going to love Jim Henson's The Storyteller live action TV show.
Wow.
So we're seeing puppets in this show, but but that's misleading, right? We're thinking like Dark Crystal puppets, like it can get pretty dark.
We have a visitor, a guest, and he's whistling.
That's a nice whistle.
I want to have it.
Hello. I hear you like a game of cards. So, what shall we play for?
His soul, his whistle, his teeth. I collect teeth.
Fair enough. And what will you stake?
We've got 40 barrels of gold. Any good?
Very good.
I think everybody always assumes that when it comes to Jim Henson's, the Muppets, you get like Kermit the Frog and Big
Right.
Bird. But
Animal,
you forget that like Jim Henson had their hands in almost anything that was like pre-CGI characters, you know, like
Right.
I mean, the Rain Corps,
the Ninja Turtles.
the Rain Corps is a
originally
product
done.
of,
Yes.
yeah.
So like you're talking about some deep, dark, like it's gonna be like, if you want a good show to watch right now that you haven't seen, I absolutely recommend The Storyteller on Amazon Prime.
So
And
my
they are not
question
saying to
is,
say that, so.
my question is, do people need to see it to understand these books that are about to come out?
Absolutely not. I think that when it comes to The Storyteller, and remember, Boom has been doing it for a while now. They've put out all different versions of The Storyteller. Their previous anthology series included, you know, ghosts, dragons. And the deal is that it's an anthology series for people who love fantasy, who love folklore, who love, you know, legendary stories. If you are a fan of anything that the Grimm Storytellers had put out, if you're a fan of anything that's set in culturally relevant storytelling, you know, Boom has put this out with The Storyteller and Jim Henson and really kind of expanded beyond what the TV show did. The TV show did a great job, but the graphic novel and comic series has really expanded it to incorporate all different varieties of storytelling and different varieties of legends and folklore and culture.
So you don't have
Cool.
to, but it's still fucking
You
cool and you should.
You should,
Right on.
you should absolutely and just indulge in everything that The Storyteller has to offer.
I'm definitely sold. I'm sold on it. It sounds pretty cool. What did you pitch for this specifically? Like what drew you to this project? Or did Boom approach you about it?
I was kind of a mutual approachage, if that's a word I can use. But no, it's just I've been a real big fan of the projects that Boom puts out and Archaea, and I just had the very great luck of being asked if I wanted to work on this project, which is one of the projects I really like the most because beyond being a graphic novelist, I see myself as a storyteller. I actually moonlight in Savannah, Georgia as a ghost tour guide. In fact, tonight at 8:30, I'm giving a ghost tour actually. So
that's awesome.
I want to go to that. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Hey,
I've been
so-
doing it
so-
for, believe it or not, I've been doing it for 17 years here in Savannah, Georgia.
No way.
So I hate to tangent. Robo can edit it out or whatever. Do you believe in ghosts?
I absolutely do. I've been doing ghost investigations since I was 18 years old. My first 3 graphic novels focused on the paranormal. And I also worked for Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters briefly as
Wow.
an agent scout. And I did a TV show pilot for TLC that didn't go anywhere, which is why I'm still here. No, I believe in the paranormal and the ghosts. I've had my own experiences, and even if I didn't 100% believe in it, I feel that folklore and legend and ghost stories, that's really what drives us as a society. And I think that as we become more involved in technology, we're looking more for ways to prove things are true and factual, but we're losing the essence of what storytelling has to tell us. I remember reading an article not too long ago where they were going to send a drone into the Loch Ness to actually determine once and for all whether or not the Loch Ness monster existed. And to me, that was a major mistake because whether it exists or doesn't exist, the idea of wondering whether or not that legend or that story has any relevance, like, is it real? Is it not real? That doesn't matter. But in the telling, that's what keeps us moving forward as a society, as a culture, as people. You know, we really want to have these experiences where we can kind of do the what if thing. So I've kind of gotten away from being a paranormal investigator and I've gotten more into being a storyteller in total and just really pushing legends and folklores and getting those stories out there.
Yeah, I really,
Cool.
really respect the latter part of that whole thing. I'm gonna make sure that my wife never meets you, because I'm really trying to work hard to make her believe, for her to understand that ghosts aren't real. So, but I like, no, I'm just
if we surveyed all the IFLC team, I reckon it would be 50-50 for people that believe in ghosts and people that don't.
But here I think it's the don't 50 for the most part.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that was going to be my question to Andre next, right? Is like, none of us have had paranormal experiences personally, but like, do you think there are people that are predisposed towards that? Like, do you have some sort of thing that makes you able to communicate with people in the afterlife that we don't have? What's the...
Well, I mean, I definitely know people who claim to have a psychic capability. You know, I worked with 3 psychics on the TV show pilot for TLC called Ghost Intervention. It was put out in 2009. And it was pitched to me as a Charlie's Angels meets Ghost Hunters. So I played the Bosley type. I was Bosley for these 3 psychics. And, you know, I won't lie. I watched as we went to investigations, and I saw some things. It's reality television. I saw some things that were kind of, you know, camped up. But at the end of the day, these psychics pinpointed out certain things that were making the people's whose homes we were investigating really shocked. You know, they're like, that's 100% true. But, you know, for me personally, like, whether or not, I mean, it's a personal experience for everyone. You know, whether you believe or you don't believe, at the end of the day, no one can force it on you. You just have to have your own experience. And I had an experience that was fortunate enough for me in many cases to get me to where I am today. It was a personal experience after my father passed away that led to me being able to pursue comic books as a college degree. And you know, I mean, I'll just tell you the story. My father unfortunately passed away right after I was accepted at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And when he passed away, it was an unexpected death, and he passed away right around the same time that my brand new watch died one evening. I was out with my girlfriend, and we were at a party, and I checked my watch and it lit up to 10:57, and then it died. And that night I went home and I found out my father had passed away. And when I went the next few days with my mother to deal with all the legal issues, I found out that my father's death certificate said he had died at 10:57. So at the same time that the watch had died. And my father told me, like, hey, you got accepted at SCAD. No matter what happens, I will get you to that college. And I tried for so many scholarships to get to Savannah College of Art and Design after he passed away, and nothing was ever enough. And then one day, my admission representative said, hey, I've got a brand new scholarship. All you need to do is write about why you want to go to that college. And I wrote about my dad and how much going to this college meant to him for me. And I forgot about it. And then literally the day I was applying for a different university, I got an email that said, congratulations, you're the recipient of this scholarship. And it was enough for me to go to the university. And I actually dedicated my first graphic novel to my father. And to me, I'm more of a spiritualist than I am I don't follow any religion, but to me, that was my father providing for me after the fact. And, you know, that was what kept me through pursuing not only my ability to draw and write and illustrate and work in the comic book industry, but also my interest within the paranormal. And both of them go hand in hand even to this day. And even working on the Storyteller, like, you know, it's folklore, it's legend. It's not necessarily paranormal, but it is the proportion and pushing the narrative of storytelling in the fantasy and the supernatural. And that to me is exactly where my dad wanted me to be.
That's amazing.
Nice.
I feel weird, like, following up with this. I was about to dunk on all of us, calling us all ancient and saying, like, a lot of time has passed since 1987. But it feels weird saying it after, like, such a, like, powerful story like that. I was gonna segue into, do you find yourself, like, needing to update the material for the times, given, like, how long ago was 1987 for reals? Is that like, when was I born?
I'm sorry, like how the Storyteller came out in 1987 and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
audience?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because if you have a chance to watch the TV show, you're going to understand that it's definitely rooted within the folklore legend of that era. You know, like John Hurt's character and the dog are sitting in the quintessential, like, you know, little cottage of like every fantasy world. Like you could put him in the Game of Thrones, you could put him in The Witcher, you could put him in Lord of the Rings, you could even put him in Harry Potter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's a timeless storytelling because it's coming from that fantasy folklore legend. What I really think that the comic book is updated from what the TV show did was that the comic book allows for folklore and legends and fantasy of every culture and every genre. So it's not just like quintessential German or English or French folklore. It can incorporate everything: African folklore, Native American folklore, you know, Asian folklore. It can incorporate any of that. And that's where I think the comic supersedes what the TV show did. But that doesn't change what the TV show is. The TV show is a great foundation for it.
It expands on it.
Or don't read, yeah, expand or read it as an accompaniment, but it is definitely, there's nothing that has needed evolution, because that's what's the great thing about storytelling. You know, real storytelling in that sense allows for a timeless experience.
So you created a perfect segue a couple seconds ago when you started talking about multiculturalism. How much reading did you do for your story? Because this is your book coming out in March it's a Celtic background. It's a Celtic myth, right? Were you already familiar with this story? How much mythology did you have to read up on this to prepare for this kind of book?
So if you're aware of any of my previous works that I've done, I always put a lot of research into it. So I worked on the graphic novel adaptation of A Land Remembered, which was a Pulitzer-nominated book back in the 1980s about Florida pioneers. After that, I did a graphic novel about Simon Says, which is based off of Simon Wiesenthal, the German Nazi hunter. I have a graphic novel actually coming out in the fall about Tokyo Rose, Iva Tagore. So a lot of my stuff is usually based around historical fact. The Children of Lear, which is what the comic's name is for the Storytellers series I'm doing. Yes, it's an Irish folk legend. But even though it's a folk legend and a lot can be kind of transformed about it, I still really feel that it's valuable to figure out all the historical information pertaining to that project. Because nothing irks me more than writing about something that I don't understand. And I think we all can agree. Like, you watch a movie that's based off a book or is based off historical fiction or historical reality, and you read it and you go, well, that's not how it happened. Like, that's not what it is. Like, why would they even change that? Like, what's the point of it? So
Right.
for the Children of Lear, you know, initially what I did is I pitched a few different stories. The Children of Lear was the one that was selected by Jim Henson. But before I went and sat down and put pen to paper, I really sat down and I wanted to understand every element of that legend. I wanted to know where it was based in. I wanted to be true to, not maybe necessarily true to what the original legend was, but I wanted to capture the flavor that that legend incurred. And so my version of the Children of Lear for the Storyteller is not verbatim historically correct, but I wanted to make sure that I understood what the ideology was behind it, what the nature was behind it. And so I feel like we captured the flavor and the elements of that.
The spirit of the story.
Yeah, I allowed myself much more room for creative development on this project than I've ever allowed for myself on previous projects. Because when I did Simon Says, or the upcoming Tokyo Rose, or the Tom Petty graphic novel I'm working on, it was really important that I get historical fact for that. For this, the editors allowed me a lot more play. And that was really freeing in a lot of ways. It was allowing me to really kind of test my storytelling capabilities.
Cool. So speaking of the Tom Petty story, I was looking at that. I'm curious what your favorite Tom Petty song is, and if it's one of the 3 Tom Petty songs that I know.
Well, all right. My favorite Tom Petty song, and it's probably not one of your top 3, but it's "Room at the Top," which was in his Echo album, which was a later song. So it was like, "I got a room at the top of the world tonight."
Nice.
I got a room. Yeah, like that's my.
I'm sold.
That's my
Just
favorite
from
song.
that performance, I'm gonna check it out now.
You know, I gotta channel my inner Tom Petty.
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna need a full performance of that before I decide. Yeah, keep going. Don't stop. Do the whole song.
Elvis, the Jesus, in America too. Yeah,
I do know Tom Petty.
that's one of my 3. That's one of the 3.
I love Free Falling.
Yeah.
And of course, Don't Back
She
Down.
grew up.
Won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can meet me at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. Yeah.
There's a delay, so none of us are on time right there. But hey, just for anybody who doesn't know, this is SCAD right here. This is what SCAD puts out.
Whoa.
And I say that in a good way. I'm saying
I know, but I'm
performers,
from Gainesville,
artists.
Florida. Like I'm from Tom Petty town. Like this
Got
is
it,
in my
okay.
blood, you know.
There you
Like,
go. So that's not from being okay. Got it.
Okay, Andre, tell us what else runs through your blood? Like, what else do you like to consume? What have you been nerding out on lately? What do you like to watch, listen to, read?
I don't think I could nerd out on anything harder than like Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, can we talk about that for a second? Was that not the
Such a good
greatest
time.
movie of all time this year or this past year?
Yeah.
I love
no,
you
but
guys. Thank
I
you.
mean, I nerd out on a lot of the same things. Like I love pop culture, but I think what I really nerd out on is really history and folklore and legend. Like I love a
Nice.
good history story. I love like case in point for today. Sidney Poitier passed.
Yeah.
You know, one of the greatest film actors of all time. I want to take a moment for that. Like Sidney Poitier, Field of what was it? The Lilies in the Field. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? You know, In the Heat of the Night. Like this was an actor who, the very first African American actor to win an Academy Award for Best Actor. And I found out that he was a Florida native. He was born in Miami. He was from the Bahamas. His family was from the Bahamas, but they were born in Miami. He was born in Miami. And the first thing when I didn't even realize that till today that he was born in Florida. And part of the things I like to write and illustrate about is my home state of Florida. And I was like, oh my God, let's do a graphic novel about Sidney Poitier. Like that's the kind of thing that goes through my mind. Like I love the actor and I love who he is. And I love to write about history and folklore and legend. But part of my love is to write graphic novels based in my home state. Because I think Florida gets a bad rap of either being Disney World or being like South Beach, Miami, or just being like...
Or Florida Man.
Or Florida Man, right. And I just feel like there's a lot more interesting stories that could be told there. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that my mind goes to. Like, I think about history, I think about legends, I think about folklore, I think about cultural history and, individual characters. And so to me, there's just so much in our own world. I mean, there's a place for Spider-Man, there's a place for the storyteller, there's a place for Harry Potter, there's a place for Lord of the Rings. But I think that we in the pop culture world still need to think about what are the real legends and the real stars and the real things that we can do in comics that we can help purport history today. You know, I mean, I was surprised how everyone like jumped on the bandwagon for Betty White. But personally, I haven't seen a lot about Sidney Poitier. That's not to say it hasn't happened. It's just in my own social aspect, I'm not seeing a lot on that. And to me, it's like, we need to tell these stories. Like there's a lot more stories out there that people need to know about. And, that's what I look to do in graphic novels. I look to tell stories that are lesser told, that are lesser known, so that, I think there's still so much more that we need to learn that can be told through the graphic novel medium.
And which of those stories can we expect besides this coming out in 2022?
So at the end
that
of
you can talk about.
No, absolutely. So at the end of, I believe at the end of 2022, I will also have a book coming out called Tokyo Rose, which is told about the story of Iva Togori. She was a Japanese American who survived World War II in Japan. And I worked on that with the amazing Kate Casanow. She was the artist. We also brought on letterist Janice Chang. She is I can't even explain it. She is a legendary comic book letterer. One of the very first women in lettering. She worked with Stan Lee. She's worked with Gene Yang. She still works actively today. She's done over 40 years of comic book lettering.
That is incredible.
That graphic novel, I also worked with a volunteer group of Asian American readers who read the book to make sure that we were, culturally respectful of the knowledge and the information we were putting out. So that comes out hopefully at the end of the year through Tuttle Publishing. And then, really the next greatest and biggest thing will be, Boom Studios, The Storyteller. I've got some other projects. The Tom Petty book comes out, who knows? I can't give a date yet. I'm not allowed through the publisher, but we are hot on working on that. But I would just say, keep in tune with the Storyteller coming out, and you will be right on track for all the other projects coming out past that.
Cool.
Awesome. If people want to keep track of your work, what's the best way? You got a website, Twitter? What do you do?
I do. You can find me on Twitter, on an Instagram through ARF Studios. That's ARF Studios. Or you can check out my website, which is arfstudios.net. So that's arfstudios.net. Or you can do .design if you so choose. But I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'm pretty not so active on Twitter. So I would say Instagram is probably the better angle to be on.
All right, and we'll make sure those links are in the description.
Yeah. And I would be wrong to not say, you also need to check out Nori Retherford. She's the artist who did The Storyteller. Amazing, amazing art. It was so cool to be able to write this script and have Nori illustrate it, because it was like she was stuck in my brain the whole time. Every time my editor, Allison, would send stuff over my way and say, how do you feel about this artwork? How does this artwork look? It was almost a little freaky because Nori was able to translate the script perfectly. So if there's really, forget about me for The Storyteller, buy the book just to see Nori's artwork, because this is Nori's very first big project, and it is phenomenal, the art that she put into it.
Go Nori. That's awesome.
Awesome.
Well, ladies, gentlemen, and MBs, that is the end of our story. Andre Frattino, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, Jim Henson's The Storytellers, The Storyteller, Shapeshifters, coming out in March. I don't know how many people from the Savannah area watch this show. I know at least one person does, because I'm in it. But do you want to just real quick give a shout out to where you're signing books?
Yeah, I should be signing on Wednesday of the book's release in early March at Odin and Sons. And I will also be following that up on that Saturday, which I believe is March 5th, at the Neighborhood Comics. So I'll be over at both the best comic book shops in town. So the other one being on the far south side. So I'll give one to that one as well if they want me there. But the best two comic book stores downtown, I'll be at the first week of March.
Is that other one you're talking about, Savannah Comics and More?
Comics and More, man. Yeah. Chuck
nice.
is my boy. I love Chuck over there. So
Yeah, he's cool.
I would be wrong if I said that his store wasn't great too, because he always stocks my work.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, I already said the goodbyes. Don't forget to get your vaccine, wash your hands, wear your mask. Shit is still serious out there. And as always, support your local comic book store, buy books, buy comic books. I love you guys. We are out of here.
If you want to hear interviews from industry pros, get first looks, and have access to endless comic content, wake up. Please wake up. You're in a coma. Your mother misses you.